What if the world you thought you knew was only a thin veil, hiding countless secrets waiting to be discovered? Imagine every breath you take, every glance at the sky, every moment you live, holding within it something so astonishing, so unexpected, that once revealed, you could never see reality the same way again. Tonight, we open a window into that hidden layer. Welcome, my friends. This is MindPeace, a place where we wander together into the unknown, where curiosity is not rushed but savored, and where knowledge feels like soft waves lapping gently against the shore of your mind. I'm truly grateful that you're here with me right now, ready to explore, ready to be surprised. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you for something simple, but powerful. If this kind of journey speaks to you, if you enjoy exploring the mysteries of the world in a calm, thoughtful way, please take a moment to subscribe and tap the bell so you'll never miss when we set sail again. Each time you join, you become part of this quiet community of seekers, thinkers, and dreamers. And because I don't just want this to be my voice, but our conversation, I want to hear from you, too. Tell me in the comments, what's the strangest fact you've ever heard? Something so bizarre or fascinating that you had to stop and think, is this really true? I'll be reading through them, and who knows, maybe your favorite fact will appear in one of our future explorations. Now, let me give you a glimpse of where we're going tonight. We're about to travel through 200 random facts that might blow your mind. Some will make you laugh, some will leave you in awe, and some may even linger in your thoughts long after this video ends. You'll hear about the tiny wonders of the natural world, the peculiar oddities of history, the strange quirks of human behavior, and the vast, almost unbelievable truths of the universe itself. So, find a comfortable place, let your shoulders relax, breathe in slowly, breathe out even slower. This isn't just a list, it's a journey, a collection of whispers from the corners of existence. By the time we're through, you may find yourself questioning the ordinary in your own life and realizing that nothing around you is ever truly ordinary. With that said, let's take our first step together. Did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts? It sounds almost like something out of mythology, an ocean creature carrying within itself not 1, not 2, but 3 steady pulses of life. 2 of those hearts have a very specific duty. They send blood through the gills, where oxygen is gathered from the water. The third, the central heart, is the one that keeps the rest of the body alive, circulating that oxygen-rich blood through its strange, intelligent, shifting form. But here's where it gets even stranger. When an octopus swims, the heart that sends blood to the body actually stops beating. Imagine that for a moment. Each stroke of its arms through the water, each glide forward, is powered not by a constant flow, but by a rhythm that pauses, holds, and then resumes. It is as if the creature itself knows when to rest and when to surge, like the ocean waves it calls home. Think about your own heartbeat for a second. That quiet, persistent thrum in your chest has been with you since before you were born and will remain until the last moment of your life. Now imagine living with 3 of them, 3 rhythms, 3 voices within you, each speaking a different language of survival. It makes you wonder, what must it feel like to be such a creature? Octopuses already stretch the limits of what we think is possible. They have no bones, yet they can squeeze through spaces smaller than their beak. They can change their color, their texture, even the way light reflects off their skin, vanishing into the rocks and corals like living shadows. Their intelligence is remarkable. Puzzles, memory, problem-solving, even what looks like play. Some scientists have described them as aliens of the deep, not because they are from another world, but because they feel so unlike any other life we know. And then, these 3 hearts, beating differently, flowing differently, reminding us that nature has never been bound by the rules we assume. The pause of the swimming heart tells us something subtle but profound. Sometimes life is not about constant motion, but about knowing when to stop, knowing when to conserve, when to hold back, when to let silence do its work before movement begins again. The next time you feel your own heart racing, under stress, under pressure, think of the octopus. Think of how, even in the ocean's vastness, with predators lurking and currents pulling, this creature carries within it the wisdom of rhythm. 3 hearts, yet never wasted. 3 hearts, yet in harmony. Perhaps there is a lesson there for us, that balance in life is not always about beating faster, but about listening to the pauses. And this, my friends, is only the first fact of our long journey together tonight. A glimpse into a world stranger than fiction, yet entirely real. Now, let's drift to the next one, where another mystery awaits. Did you know that bananas are technically berries, but strawberries are not? Strange, isn't it? The language of everyday life makes us believe one thing, while science whispers another story altogether. You grow up thinking of strawberries as the perfect, iconic berry, the small sweet fruit you might find sprinkled on cake or resting in a bowl of cream. And bananas, long, curved, soft, familiar, they never quite felt like berries at all. Yet reality flips the script. Botanically speaking, a berry has to come from a single flower with one ovary and must contain seeds inside the flesh. A banana fits this definition perfectly. It develops from a flower with a single ovary and carries tiny, almost invisible seeds scattered within its body. By contrast, strawberries don't meet these hidden rules. Each of those little dots on the outside, the seeds, aren't seeds in the usual sense, but tiny fruits of their own, each with a seed inside, meaning the strawberry is something else entirely. And here's the delightful irony. What we so casually call berries are often imposters. Raspberries and blackberries? Not berries, but aggregate fruits. Meanwhile, cucumbers, tomatoes, and even eggplants fit more neatly into the true berry category. The world rearranges itself when you realize this, doesn't it? Suddenly, the grocery aisle becomes a puzzle, each fruit and vegetable whispering a different truth than the one its name suggests. But let's pause for a moment and reflect on what this means beyond botany. Words shape our world. The labels we place on things, fruit, berry, vegetable, truth, fact, are only as strong as the structures we've agreed upon. Yet reality, beneath the surface, often refuses to play by those rules. The banana is a berry, the strawberry is not. The world is stranger than the categories we build to contain it. There's something beautiful in that. It reminds us that life can't always be neatly boxed or explained, that sometimes the sweetness of discovery lies in being surprised. Think of the strawberry, bright red, dotted with tiny suns, fragrant and soft. Does it matter whether it's a berry by definition or not? Its meaning comes not from the label, but from the way it makes you feel when you taste it. The memories it carries, childhood summers, laughter at picnics, a hand reaching into a bowl of fruit on a quiet evening, and the banana, humble, often overlooked, yet now elevated by this curious truth, a berry in disguise. It makes you wonder how many other parts of life hide secret identities, waiting for us to notice. So, the next time you peel a banana or bite into a strawberry, let this fact sit quietly in the back of your mind. The world is not always as it seems, and perhaps that's the most beautiful thing about it. For in every bite, in every seed, in every detail of life, there's always more to learn, always another layer to uncover. Did you know that sharks are older than trees? Pause for a moment and let that sink in. When you imagine a shark, you probably picture it gliding through deep waters, a symbol of something fierce, ancient, and untouchable. And when you think of trees, you might see vast forests, their roots sinking deep into the earth, their branches stretching high toward the heavens. It feels natural to believe that trees must be older. They look timeless, eternal, the lungs of our planet. But reality bends that instinct. Sharks have been here for more than 400 million years, while the first trees appeared nearly 50 million years later. In other words, before forests ever touched the skies, before leaves whispered in the wind, sharks were already swimming in ancient seas. They existed long before birds sang, long before flowers bloomed, long before the land itself was dressed in green. They watched Earth shift and shape itself, through extinction after extinction, surviving when so many other forms of life disappeared into silence. Think of that for a second. The shark is not just a predator, it's a living time machine, a memory of an Earth so different from the one we know. A time when continents hadn't yet taken their familiar forms, when the skies may have seemed barren, when the oceans themselves ruled every corner of existence. And in those waters, sharks swam, patient and enduring, their bodies evolving, refining, but never vanishing. Now think of the trees. Their story is magnificent too. They grew as nature's architects, slowly building the oxygen-rich world we depend on today. Without them, the very air we breathe would not exist. They shaped the planet for us, for animals, for every living creature. But even in all their glory, they are younger siblings to the shark. This contrast stirs something deep, doesn't it? Because we like to think of trees as wisdom itself, as the most ancient beings on Earth. Yet here swims a creature that predates them all, silently carrying the history of a world that no longer exists. There is a lesson here. About resilience, the shark has survived, not because it was the biggest or the strongest, but because it adapted, flowing with time like the waters it lives in. It did not resist change. It became part of it, and perhaps that's why it remains, while countless other species turn to fossils. Next time you hear the distant rhythm of waves, remember, the shark has heard that rhythm for 400 million years. It has heard the Earth's heartbeat longer than the trees have rustled in the wind. It is a reminder that survival is not always about permanence or stillness, but about motion, patience, and the willingness to endure. So, as we walk among forests and admire trees reaching high into the sky, we might also bow our heads toward the ocean, knowing that within its depths lives a creature far older, far more ancient, a ghost of time still alive, still moving. Did you know that wombat poop is cube-shaped? It sounds like a strange little joke of nature, something you'd expect to find scribbled in the corner of a trivia book. But it's not a joke at all, it's real. Wombats, those stout, burrowing creatures from Australia, are the only animals in the world whose droppings come out in cubes. Perfect little blocks, as if nature had decided to play at geometry. But why? Why would an animal's body go through the trouble of shaping waste into cubes, of all things? The answer lies in both survival and design. Wombats use their droppings to mark territory, to communicate with one another. They often leave them on rocks, logs, or high places where the scent can linger longest. And here's where the cube matters. Unlike round droppings, the little blocks don't roll away. They stay exactly where they are placed, like tiny messages pinned to the world. Scientists once puzzled over this mystery for years. How could an intestine, a soft, flexible tube, shape something so angular, so sharp-edged? The secret lies in the wombat's digestive process. Their intestines stretch and compress in uneven ways, tightening and loosening like the hands of an unseen sculptor. Over nearly 4 days of digestion, as food slowly transforms into waste, those walls mold it into blocks instead of spheres. A strange quirk of biology, yes, but also a perfect adaptation. Now pause for a moment and think about that. Out of all the countless creatures on Earth, fish, birds, mammals, insects, only the wombat produces this shape. One single animal carrying such a peculiar mark of design, a signature of uniqueness etched into the very way it lives. Doesn't it remind you of how even the smallest details of life can hold stories beyond imagination? But here's where it becomes more than trivia. This little fact is a mirror for us too, because we, as humans, often look at the world through the lens of the ordinary. We assume that things must follow a pattern, that they must make sense in ways we already know. Yet here comes the wombat, teaching us that life doesn't always choose the straight path. Sometimes it shapes cubes where we expect circles, edges where we expect smoothness. And maybe that's the quiet wisdom in it. That difference is not just strange, it's purposeful. That even the most unusual traits can be the very thing that allows survival, communication, and connection. So the next time you hear someone dismiss something as odd, or someone as too different, think of the wombat. Think of how its oddness became its strength, how its cubes became its language, and how the world is stitched together not by sameness but by the strange, surprising, and unexpected. A little creature leaving behind little blocks, whispering a lesson that most of us would never imagine. And with that, we step gently from the burrows of wombats into the next secret waiting for us. Did you know that honey never spoils? Archaeologists have discovered pots of honey sealed inside tombs thousands of years old, still golden, still edible, still carrying the sweetness of a world long gone. The reason lies in its very nature: low moisture, high acidity, and a wealth of natural enzymes that keep it pure and uncorrupted. Honey is not just food, it is time preserved in amber. Each spoonful is sunlight captured by flowers, turned to nectar, transformed by bees, and offered to us as something eternal. Imagine eating honey today that once touched the lips of an ancient civilization, unchanged, undiminished. A simple taste, bridging centuries. Did you know that sea otters hold hands while they sleep? Out in the drifting kelp forests, where tides sway endlessly, sea otters rest. But they do not rest alone. They link their paws together, forming small chains of safety. Scientists call it rafting. It keeps them from floating apart, from being pulled away into the vast and lonely sea. There's something tender in that image, isn't there? Tiny hands clasped, fur brushed against fur, trust woven into the rhythm of the waves. It reminds us of ourselves, that in moments of uncertainty, we too seek connection. Sometimes survival isn't about strength, but about holding on to one another. Did you know that your stomach gets a new lining every 3 to 4 days? Deep within you, life is renewing itself constantly, invisibly. The stomach's powerful acids are so strong they could dissolve not only food, but the very tissues that hold them. And so, the body has found a way to protect itself. It sheds its lining regularly, like a forest shedding leaves, like the earth turning its seasons. Without this constant renewal, you could not exist as you are. It is a quiet reminder that regeneration is built into us, that we are not static beings, but rivers of change flowing beneath the surface. Even as you sit still, your body is always beginning again. Did you know that there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all Earth's beaches? Try to picture it. The vast sweep of the Milky Way, a ribbon of starlight across the night sky. Now multiply that image by billions of galaxies, each holding billions of stars. Every star perhaps with its own planets, its own moons, its own hidden stories. Compare this to the sand, so countless, so infinite seeming when it sifts through your fingers at the shore. And yet, the cosmos holds more than we can imagine, more than we can count. To know this is to stand humbled, to feel both tiny and infinite all at once. For within us too are the atoms of stars. Did you know that sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins? It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? Dolphins, sleek masters of the sea, can hold their breath for around 10 minutes. But a sloth, that slow-moving guardian of the treetops, can slow its heart rate so deeply that it can stay underwater for up to 40 minutes. Imagine that, the laziest creature of the forest, defying expectation, outlasting even the dolphin. There's a lesson here, that speed and strength aren't the only forms of survival. Sometimes stillness itself is power, and slowing down is not weakness but wisdom. Did you know that the fingerprints of a koala are almost indistinguishable from those of a human? So indistinguishable, in fact, that even under a microscope they can fool experts. In Australia, forensic scientists have worried that koala prints left at crime scenes could be mistaken for human ones. Think about that. An entirely different species, separated by millions of years of evolution, carrying in its paws a mirror of our own identity. It is as if the universe enjoys echoing patterns across its canvas, repeating forms in unexpected places. And maybe that's the quiet poetry of it, that we are not as separate from the animal world as we often believe. Did you know that the heart of a blue whale is so large a human could crawl through its arteries? The largest animal to ever live on Earth carries within it a heart that weighs more than a car, beating with the slow, thunderous rhythm of an ocean drum. Imagine standing beside a creature longer than 2 school buses, its pulse moving tidal waves of blood through an empire of muscle and bone. And inside, arteries wide enough for you to slip inside like a tunnel. The sheer scale is beyond comprehension. Yet despite its immensity, the whale feeds on the tiniest of beings. Krill, shrimp-like creatures smaller than your finger. Greatness fed by smallness, vastness sustained by the minute. Did you know that the Eiffel Tower grows taller in summer? As the sun warms the iron structure, it expands. The tower can grow by as much as 15 centimeters in the heat. At night or in winter, as the chill returns, it shrinks again. A monument of steel and stone. And yet it breathes with the seasons, rising and falling in quiet rhythm. Isn't that beautiful? Even the tallest structures we build are not as rigid as we think. They live, they shift, they bend to the whispers of nature. The Eiffel Tower is more than a monument. It is a giant sundial, marking the pulse of the Earth with its silent expansion and contraction. Did you know that jellyfish are biologically immortal? Among the drifting lanterns of the sea lives a species called Turritopsis dohrnii, often called the immortal jellyfish. When faced with stress, illness, or injury, it can reverse its own cells back to a younger state, returning to its earliest form and beginning life anew. Imagine if, when your body grew tired, you could simply reset yourself, returning not just to youth, but to the very start of being. The jellyfish does not live forever in the way we dream, but it bends the rules of time. It is a reminder that in nature, death is not always the final word. It is just one possibility among many. Did you know that your body has more bacteria than human cells? It may sound unsettling, but it's true. Trillions upon trillions of microscopic beings live within you, outnumbering your very own cells. They digest your food, regulate your immune system, even influence your mood and thoughts. In a way, you are not just one being, you are a colony, a walking universe of lives working together in harmony. Your body is not a fortress, but a city, and you are its living host. Doesn't that shift the way you think of yourself? You are more than one, you are many. Did you know that lightning strikes Earth about 8 million times a day? Every second, 100 bolts lash down somewhere on the planet, cracking open the sky, electrifying the air. And yet most of us live our lives without noticing this constant storm, this endless dance of fire in the clouds. Lightning is not just spectacle, it fertilizes the soil, splitting nitrogen in the air so it can fall to the earth and feed plants. Each strike is both danger and gift, destruction and creation. It is nature's way of reminding us that power can be both fierce and generous. Did you know that the tongue is the only muscle in your body attached at just one end? It floats, agile and free, anchored only at the base. Because of this, it can twist, curl, and shape itself in ways no other muscle can. It is small, but it carries enormous weight. It gives us taste, language, song, and the soft comfort of words whispered in the dark. A muscle that shapes love, shapes knowledge, shapes entire worlds through speech. And though it is only tethered at one end, it holds together so much of what makes us human. Nature's hidden mirror symmetry isn't just about appearances. It's the scaffolding of existence itself. From the bilateral perfection of a butterfly's wings to the mirrored halves of your own face, nature whispers an invisible code. Balance breeds beauty. Yet symmetry goes deeper than elegance. It governs the mathematics of the universe. Every time a snowflake crystallizes with flawless geometry, or the spirals of a sunflower follow Fibonacci's law, you are witnessing nature's obsession with mirrored order. This quiet law doesn't ask to be seen. It simply exists, painting the cosmos with repetition and rhythm. Broken symmetry, new possibilities. Strangely, life itself thrives not only in symmetry, but also in its breaking. Imagine a perfectly round egg, symmetry intact, but when it hatches, that perfection shatters, giving way to something alive, something unpredictable. In physics, this breaking of symmetry explains why our universe is made of matter and not a perfect cancelling dance of matter and antimatter. In biology, it decides why your heart beats on the left, not the right. Symmetry lays the groundwork, but asymmetry carves uniqueness, reminding us that imperfection is often the birthplace of wonder. The cosmic ballet of symmetry. On the grandest scale, symmetry reaches into galaxies. Spiral arms unfurl evenly, planets orbit stars in balanced ellipses, and the fundamental forces of physics, gravity, electromagnetism, the nuclear binds, cling to symmetrical laws. But even here, slight imperfections are what allow galaxies to form, stars to ignite, and planets like ours to cradle life. Symmetry is the universe's sheet music, but it is in the tiny pauses, the bent notes, where creation sings its loudest. Infinity, hiding in plain sight fractals, are shapes that repeat themselves endlessly, no matter how far you zoom in or out. A fern leaf, for example, is not just a leaf. It's a leaf made of smaller leaves, each one a miniature echo of the whole. Coastlines do the same. Whether you're looking from a satellite or standing with your toes in the sand, the jagged edges mimic themselves at every scale. Fractals remind us that infinity isn't some unreachable abstraction. It is written into the very texture of reality. The fractal signature of life. Your lungs are fractals. So are the veins in a leaf and the branching rivers that carve continents. This pattern, branching and repeating, exists because it solves a universal problem: efficiency. By splitting and splitting again, fractals allow nutrients, oxygen, and energy to spread far and wide with minimal effort. That same rule explains lightning bolts, neuron networks, and coral reefs. Life borrows this geometry of repetition to keep itself alive, weaving infinity into the pulse of every breath you take. The chaos within order. Fractals sit at the edge of chaos and structure. They appear wild, uncontrolled, yet they obey strict mathematical rules. The Mandelbrot set, that mesmerizing swirl of infinite shapes, is built from a single, simple equation repeating itself. That paradox, complexity born of simplicity, is what makes fractals so haunting. They whisper that behind the tangled, chaotic face of the world lies a hidden rhythm, a calm architecture, a heartbeat stretching into forever. Octopus hearts never rest together. An octopus has 3 hearts, but here's the strange part. 2 of them pump blood to the gills, while the third keeps the rest of the body alive. Even stranger, when an octopus swims, that main heart stops beating. It rests only while the creature is in motion, as if the act of gliding through the water is both its greatest effort and its deepest breath. Crows can hold grudges. Crows are not only intelligent, they remember faces. If someone threatens or harms them, they'll recognize that person even years later. Entire flocks will sometimes pass this memory along, warning others of the enemy. But it's not all vengeance. Crows also remember kindness, and they've been known to bring shiny gifts, bits of glass, or metal trinkets to people who treat them well. The immortal jellyfish. Deep in the oceans lives Turritopsis dohrnii, often called the immortal jellyfish. When injured, stressed, or aging, it can transform its adult cells back into a juvenile state, essentially reversing time. It's not truly invincible, but its ability to reset challenges everything we thought we knew about mortality. A creature that can begin again and again, forever looping its life like a living paradox. Time moves faster in the sky, high above the earth. Time runs just a little quicker than it does on the ground. This isn't imagination, it's Einstein's relativity at work. Astronauts on the International Space Station age a fraction of a second less slowly than those of us rooted to the Earth. Clocks on airplanes tick faster than those at sea level. Time is not rigid. It bends, stretches, and flexes depending on where you stand. Your brain lives in the past. Everything you see, hear, and feel has already happened by the time you're aware of it. Your brain takes around 80 milliseconds to process visual information and slightly longer for sound. That means your conscious self is always a tiny step behind reality. To keep life seamless, your brain stitches the past and present into what feels like now. The moment you live in is really a carefully crafted illusion. Time can vanish in black holes. At the edge of a black hole, the event horizon, time slows so drastically that, to an outside observer, anything falling in seems frozen forever. To the object itself, however, time flows normally until it vanishes into the unknown. The strangest truth? From the black hole's perspective, the fall and the end are instant. Time collapses into nothing, a reminder that what feels eternal to us may be over in a heartbeat elsewhere. Stars sing, but we cannot hear them. Every star hums, not with music in the way we know it, but with vibrations, pulsations deep within their cores. These ripples travel outward, shaking their glowing surfaces like an immense drum. Astronomers have learned to listen by translating those oscillations into sound waves we can study, turning stars into cosmic instruments. Some tremble in tones far deeper than the human ear can sense, others in frequencies higher than glass. The universe is not silent, it is a choir, and we are only just learning how to listen. You are stardust in disguise. Every atom of calcium in your bones, every atom of iron in your blood, every ounce of oxygen you breathe was forged in the furnace of a star. Billions of years ago, colossal suns died in cataclysmic explosions, scattering their elements across the cosmos. That debris gathered into clouds, into planets, into oceans, into life. When you look into the night sky, you are not merely gazing at stars. You are recognizing your ancestors. The cosmos did not just build you, it is you. Neutron stars defy imagination. When massive stars collapse, they sometimes leave behind neutron stars, objects so dense that a teaspoon of their matter weighs about 1 billion tons. Imagine crushing Mount Everest into something the size of a sugar cube. Their magnetic fields are millions of times stronger than Earth's, powerful enough to distort the very vacuum of space around them. They are like cosmic riddles, impossibly tiny, impossibly heavy, impossibly real. The universe has no edge. We imagine the cosmos as something that must end somewhere, like the walls of a room. But according to what we know, the universe has no edge. It is either infinite or it curves back onto itself, like the surface of a sphere, except in dimensions we cannot perceive. You could, in theory, travel forever without hitting a boundary, looping endlessly without even knowing you'd circled. Infinity is not out there. It is woven into the very structure of everything. Some stars live millions of years, others burn in millions of seconds. Our sun will live for about 10 billion years, but some massive stars, so bright they make the sun look like a candle, burn through their fuel in just a few million years. On the other extreme, tiny red dwarfs can live trillions of years, far longer than the current age of the universe. Stars do not live on one timescale, but on many. Some flare and vanish quickly like cosmic fireworks, while others endure patiently, as if they have all the time in existence. The dark between stars is not empty. What we call the dark void of space is filled with invisible whispers. Dark matter, dark energy, cosmic microwave background radiation, and a sea of virtual particles popping in and out of existence. The emptiness between stars is alive with mysteries, a restless ocean we have barely begun to chart. Even in silence, the universe is talking, and the dark is never truly dark. Galaxies collide like dancing giants. Galaxies are not fixed in place. They move, pulled by gravity across the great ocean of the cosmos. When they meet, they do not shatter like glass. Instead, they pass through one another, their stars so spread out that collisions between individual suns are rare. What does happen is even more beautiful. Gravitational tides twist them into spirals and waves, sparking bursts of new star birth. Collisions create as much as they destroy. In about 4 billion years, our Milky Way will merge with the Andromeda Galaxy, and the night sky will blaze with rivers of stars. Some stars die twice. A certain kind of massive star can explode, collapse into a black hole, and then, astonishingly, explode again in what scientists call a fallback supernova. This double death rattles the fabric of space, hurling elements even farther. These cosmic second chances are rare, but they show us that even endings can have aftershocks. The universe seems to love drama, writing finales that echo twice. The coldest place we know is man-made space is cold, yes, but the coldest known temperature isn't found in some faraway corner of the cosmos. It's inside a lab on Earth. Scientists have cooled atoms to within a fraction of a billionth of a degree above absolute zero, colder than empty space itself. In this frozen stillness, atoms behave strangely, merging into a single quantum state. For a brief moment, we hold in our hands a piece of the universe's ultimate silence. Black holes can sing. 2. When black holes collide, they send ripples through space-time itself, gravitational waves that stretch and squeeze reality. Scientists have detected these waves, and by converting them into sound, we can actually hear the echo of black holes crashing together. The tones are unimaginably deep, vibrating far below human hearing, like the groan of the cosmos waking from sleep. The darkest, most silent objects in existence still find a way to sing. There are more stars than grains of sand. Pick up a handful of sand at the beach. Now imagine every grain a star, with its own planets, its own moons, its own mysteries. The truth is greater. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all of Earth's beaches combined. And each of those stars could hold entire systems of worlds, each with its own secrets. When you look up at the sky, you are not looking at many, you are looking at almost everything. Stars can steal from each other. In some binary systems, two stars orbit so close that one begins siphoning matter from the other, pulling its hydrogen away like a cosmic thief. This act of theft can trigger violent bursts of energy, sometimes even leading to novas or supernovas. The stars, locked in their gravitational dance, are like ancient lovers, fierce, jealous, and bound until one consumes the other. A star's death creates light beyond measure. When a supernova explodes, it can briefly outshine an entire galaxy. For weeks, one single dying star can release more energy than billions of others combined. Some supernovae are so bright they can be seen in the daytime sky, even with the naked eye. They remind us that death in the universe is never quiet. It is a firework so vast it makes galaxies pause. You are older than the stars above you. The hydrogen atoms inside you, the ones in the water you drink, the breath you exhale, are older than any star you see at night. They formed in the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago when the universe was newborn. Stars may rise and fall, but you carry in you the original breath of the cosmos. You are not just stardust, you are Big Bang dust. Stars can blink like beacons. Pulsars are neutron stars that spin so fast they send out beams of radiation like cosmic lighthouses. Some rotate hundreds of times per second, so precise that they rival atomic clocks in their steadiness. Imagine a star the size of a city, spinning faster than a blender, sending its heartbeat across galaxies. These flickers are not random. They are a map of time written in light. One day, the stars will fade. There will come a time, far beyond human imagination, when no new stars will be born. Galaxies will dim, and the cosmos will fall into darkness. This heat death of the universe is predicted by physics. Everything will drift apart, and time itself may lose meaning. But until then, stars will keep burning, and their light will keep finding us across unimaginable distances. Reminders that even endings are long. Patient stories. You glow in the dark. Every human emits a faint natural light. It's not visible to the naked eye, but sensitive cameras can capture it. This glow comes from biochemical reactions inside your cells as they produce energy. Your body is a quiet lantern, pulsing with invisible radiance. At night, you don't just dream, you shine. Your heart has its own mind. The heart is not only a pump, it has about 40,000 neurons, enough to create what scientists call a heart brain. This cluster allows your heart to sense, remember, and even make decisions independent of your actual brain. That's why you sometimes feel something in your chest before your mind fully understands it. Your bones are stronger than steel. Pound for pound, human bone is about 4 times stronger than concrete and stronger than many grades of steel. A cubic inch of bone can bear nearly 19,000 pounds of weight. Yet it is not brittle. It is alive, constantly breaking down and rebuilding itself, carrying the memory of every step, every fall, every embrace. You carry ancient viruses in your DNA. About 8% of your DNA is made up of remnants from ancient viruses that infected your ancestors. These fragments became part of your genetic story, passed on for millions of years. You are not just yourself. You are a library of old battles, carrying echoes of forgotten enemies woven into your very code. Your brain generates electricity, enough to power a light bulb at any given moment. Your brain is humming with electrical impulses. Altogether, the energy could light a small bulb. Thoughts, dreams, and emotions are not abstract. They are sparks, fields, lightning storms within your skull. You are, quite literally, electric. You have a second brain in your gut. The enteric nervous system, buried in the lining of your gut, contains about 500 million neurons, more than the spinal cord. It can function independently, controlling digestion and even influencing mood. That's why your stomach feels anxiety, joy, or dread before you say a word. Your gut is more than digestion. It is intuition incarnate. Your body replaces itself constantly. The cells in your skin replace themselves every few weeks. The lining of your stomach regenerates every few days. Red blood cells cycle out every 4 months. Some parts of you, like the lens of your eyes, stay the same your whole life, while others are in constant rebirth. You are not static. You are a river of flesh and thought, always changing yet somehow always you. You can taste with more than your tongue. Taste buds aren't limited to your mouth. They've been found in your throat, in your intestines, even in your pancreas. They don't taste food for pleasure, but to sense chemicals and trigger responses. Your body is aware of flavors in ways your mind never knows, tasting the world in secret. Your ears keep growing. Forever, unlike bones, which stop growing after adolescence, cartilage never stops expanding. That's why older people often have noticeably larger ears and noses. Your body quietly lengthens and stretches certain parts of you, writing time into your face in slow, irreversible strokes. Your body stores memories without your mind. Even without conscious thought, your body remembers. The immune system recalls every microbe it has ever fought. Muscles store patterns of movement long after you've forgotten the effort of learning. Trauma lingers in your nervous system, waiting to be released. You are not one memory. You are layers of memory, some silent, some loud, all alive. You are more bacteria than human. For every human cell in your body, there are about 1.3 bacterial cells. They live in your skin, your mouth, and especially your gut. This microbiome helps you digest, protects you, even influences your moods. You are not a single creature. You are an ecosystem, a living planet of countless tiny beings. Your body can create its own light show. Sometimes, under immense stress or exhaustion, your eyes may flash with phosphenes, bursts of light even when no light enters. These sparks come from your retina and brain firing in odd ways, as though your nervous system itself is painting on the canvas of your vision. Your body doesn't just see light, it sometimes creates it. Tears are not all the same. Tears of sadness, joy, pain, and irritation are chemically different. Emotional tears, for example, contain stress hormones, while reflex tears from onions or dust are more about protection. Your body writes its emotions in salt water, creating a chemistry of grief, joy, and survival. Your stomach gets a new lining every few days. The acid in your stomach is powerful enough to dissolve metal. To protect itself, your stomach replaces its lining roughly every 3 to 4 days. Without this endless cycle of rebirth, you'd be eaten alive from within. Survival is not static. It is a constant act of self-preservation. Your skeleton once had more bones. When you were born, you had around 300 bones. As you grew, many fused together, leaving the 206 that adults carry. Your skeleton is a living story of merging and transformation, a puzzle that rearranges itself as you move toward adulthood. Your fingernails. Remember your health. The ridges, spots, and colors in your nails are not random. They are a timeline of your body's state. Illness, stress, malnutrition, even trauma can leave marks. Your fingernails are quiet journals, recording whispers of your inner life in keratin and shine. The ocean hides mountains taller than Everest. We often think of Mount Everest as the tallest peak on Earth, but beneath the Pacific Ocean, Mauna Kea rises from the seafloor to a height of more than 33,000 feet. Most of it is underwater, so it doesn't earn the title of tallest mountain in plain sight. The Earth hides giants beneath waves, their crowns unseen, their scale staggering. A single tree can speak to a forest through underground fungal networks, what scientists call the wood wide web. Trees send signals to one another. They share nutrients, warn of pests, and even nurture their young. A mother tree can funnel extra sugars to a struggling sapling. What looks like a silent forest is in fact a community humming with communication, care, and strategy. The Sahara Desert was once green. 6,000 years ago, the Sahara was not a sea of sand but a lush grassland filled with lakes, wildlife, and human settlements. Rock art across North Africa shows giraffes, elephants, and rivers that no longer exist. The desert is not eternal. It is a shifting phase of Earth's story, proof that even landscapes carry memories of transformations. The Earth breathes through volcanoes. Volcanoes are not just destroyers, they are vents of creation. They recycle Earth's crust, release gases that build atmospheres, and create fertile soil. The air you breathe once surged from molten rock. Our planet exhales through fire, and in doing so, it feeds life. A day on Earth is not 24 hours. Technically, Earth spins once every 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. We round it to 24 by using the sun as our reference. Slowly though, the planet's rotation is decelerating because of the moon's pull. Hundreds of millions of years from now, Earth days will be longer than they are today. Time itself is stretching under our feet. Lightning strikes Earth 8 million times a day. At any given second, about 100 bolts of lightning strike somewhere on Earth. That's over 8 million flashes every single day. Yet no two are ever exactly alike. Each bolt a unique spark, a cosmic fingerprint written in storm and sky. The deep sea is darker than night, yet full of light below 1,000 meters sunlight never reaches, and yet countless creatures glow in the blackness. Bioluminescent fish, squids, and jellyfish light up the abyss like lanterns. Their glows are signals, camouflage, or lures. In the deepest dark, life has learned to paint with fire. The Earth's core is as hot as the sun. At the center of our planet, the iron core burns at more than 5,000 degrees Celsius, similar to the surface of the sun. We live on a sphere that glows like a star from within, its molten energy hidden beneath layers of rock, sustaining our magnetic field and protecting us from solar winds. The Amazon creates its own rain. The Amazon rainforest is so vast that it generates much of its own weather. Trees release water vapor into the air, forming clouds that circle back as rain. Cut too many trees, and the sky itself changes. The Amazon is not just a forest, it is an atmosphere in motion, a breathing sky machine. Antarctica holds most of Earth's fresh water locked in its ice sheets. Antarctica holds about 60% of the world's fresh water. If it melted completely, global sea levels would rise by around 200 feet, drowning coastlines and reshaping continents. The white silence at the bottom of the world is a reservoir, a fragile balance for the rest of the Earth. The Earth once had 2 moons. Some scientists believe that long ago, Earth was orbited by 2 moons. The smaller one may have collided with the larger, merging into the single moon we know today. The sky has changed before. It may change again. Mountains are still growing. The Himalayas rise higher every year as tectonic plates push against one another. Even the tallest peaks are not finished. They are still climbing. Earth is restless, always shifting, always rewriting its shape, as though mountains themselves are reaching toward the stars. Deserts bloom overnight. After rare rains, deserts can suddenly erupt into seas of wildflowers. Seeds that have lain dormant for years burst alive at the first drop of water. The harshest places hold the most dramatic beauty, waiting quietly for the right moment to awaken. Earth's shadow can be seen in the sky. At twilight, just after sunset, you can sometimes see a bluish band rising opposite the sun. That's Earth's own shadow stretching into the sky, a reminder that even planets cast silhouettes. The world itself participates in the dance of light and dark. The planet quakes in waves. We cannot feel besides earthquakes. Earth hums with microseisms, tiny vibrations caused by waves hitting the shores, winds rushing across mountains, even distant storms. The whole planet trembles in whispers, a constant low song. You live on an instrument always playing, always resonating. The dance of light and mind-light, so simple in appearance, yet so profound in essence. A flicker in the darkness, a wave, a particle, a pulse of infinite histories folded into a single shimmer. It travels across unimaginable distances, born from the heart of stars, bending around black holes, filtered through nebulae, finally resting upon the surface of an eye. And in that instant, when photons meet neurons, when signals ripple into the brain, something remarkable happens. Light transforms into thought. The outer universe becomes inner vision. The cosmos becomes consciousness. Consider how every sunrise you've ever seen was not merely painted in the sky. It was painted inside your mind. The colors of dawn, pink and gold, are not truly out there. They exist because your eyes, your brain, and your awareness shape them. In reality, sunlight is only a spread of electromagnetic waves. There is no red, no blue, no violet floating freely in space. Those are the brushstrokes of your mind, hues created by the brain's translation of frequency into experience. Without consciousness, a rainbow is not colorful. Without you, the sky is not blue. And yet light is the universal language. Plants bend toward it, absorbing its whispers as nourishment. Insects track it across the night sky. Entire civilizations once worshipped the sun, carving temples to mark its rising and its fall, for they knew, deeply, instinctively, that life and light are intertwined. But beyond biology, light has always touched something deeper in us, the symbolic and the spiritual. To see the light is to awaken, to understand, to know. It is no coincidence that enlightenment, both scientific and mystical, is expressed through this same metaphor. Now, consider this. Photons, the carriers of light, do not experience time. They are born, travel across galaxies, and die within the blink of eternity, all without aging. From their perspective, the journey of billions of years is instantaneous. What does that say about perception? Perhaps consciousness, too, exists outside the flow of time in ways we cannot yet grasp. Perhaps the mind, like light, is timeless, an observer of change without itself being confined to it. Modern neuroscience tells us that about 30% of the brain's cortex is devoted to processing visual information. That is an enormous investment, suggesting that sight is not just another sense. It is the cornerstone of how we interact with reality. But what if reality itself is nothing more than an endless dance of photons and perception? The light falls, the neurons fire, and we weave meaning into the fabric of the world. This is not passive reception, it is creation. We do not just see, we construct the scene. Quantum physics adds another layer to this mystery. In the famous double-slit experiment, light behaves differently when observed than when left alone. When unmeasured, photons ripple as waves, spreading possibility across space. When observed, they collapse into certainty, into particles, as though waiting for awareness to choose their state. This strange relationship between light and observation raises a question that has haunted scientists and philosophers alike. Does consciousness help define reality? Are photons waiting for our gaze, our recognition to solidify the universe? Every candle flicker in a dark room, every star twinkling in the void, every spark reflected in someone's eyes carries this quiet enigma. We are not merely watching light, we are shaping its destiny. The dance is mutual. Without light, there is no vision, no beauty, no symbol. But without vision, light remains unfulfilled, a story untold, a song unheard. And so, the mind and light engage in their eternal duet. One casts illumination into the world, the other transforms it into meaning, into memory, into self. The sunrise awakens the planet, but more importantly, it awakens the soul. In that golden moment, photons traveling millions of miles whisper directly to your awareness. I am here, and so are you. The dance continues in every shadow, in every reflection, in every glimmer of the cosmos falling upon our consciousness. To understand this bond is to realize that we are not separate from the universe's radiance. We are woven into it, light made aware of itself. Photons turn to thought, the cosmos dreaming in the quiet corridors of the human mind. He patterns beneath the surface. If you look closely, closer than the eye is accustomed to, you'll begin to notice something extraordinary. Beneath the apparent chaos of life, a secret order shimmers. Leaves spiral in Fibonacci curves. Galaxies whirl in golden ratios. Snowflakes bloom in crystalline symmetry, and even the veins within your body echo patterns of rivers carving through landscapes. What seems random is often threaded by hidden design, as though reality is not a loose scattering of chance, but a woven tapestry, guided by rhythms and rules deeper than sight. Consider the nautilus shell. It begins small, a fragile spiral, yet it grows outward endlessly, never losing its form. The same ratio shaping its growth is found in pine cones, sunflowers, hurricanes, and the whirling arms of galaxies. This golden ratio, 1:618, is not merely a number. It is a signature, a cosmic fingerprint that whispers of unity across scale and time. Why should a seashell echo a galaxy? Why should the mathematics of growth govern both the smallest seed and the vastest star system? Physicists call this symmetry, a principle that underlies the laws of nature. Symmetry is balance, repetition, and invariance, the rules that remain the same no matter how reality shifts. Rotate a snowflake and it repeats itself. Reflect a butterfly's wings, and each side mirrors the other. In quantum physics, particles obey symmetries so fundamental that breaking them changes the fabric of existence itself. When symmetries are preserved, reality is stable. When they are broken, new forces and phenomena are born. This is not mere geometry. It is the language of the cosmos. But symmetry isn't about perfection. Nature thrives in imperfection too, weaving balance with deviation. Look at a forest. No two trees are alike, yet together they form an ecosystem of harmony. Symmetry provides the framework, but life paints variation within it. The perfection of order and the vitality of chaos are not enemies. They are partners in creation. Too much symmetry, and the world becomes static, lifeless, crystalline. Too much chaos and nothing coheres. It is in the dance between these two that reality finds its flow. What's even more intriguing is how the human mind is tuned to recognize these patterns. Our brains light up when they detect symmetry, order, rhythm. This is why music moves us, why architecture that follows certain proportions feels timeless, why fractal art resonates with something deep in the psyche. Our very consciousness seems wired to seek out and respond to hidden order, as though our awareness itself is part of the symmetry it seeks. Take sound, for instance. The vibrations of a string form standing waves, each harmonic folding into the next. These harmonics are the foundation of music, from the ancient chants echoing in temples to the symphonies of modern composers. Yet those same harmonics govern quantum fields, vibrations of particles, and even the oscillations of stars. Symmetry speaks across disciplines, uniting physics, biology, art, and emotion in one whisper. All is connected. And still, the greatest mystery lingers. Why is the universe built this way at all? Why should the cosmos favor patterns, order, and balance? Is symmetry a byproduct of deeper laws we do not yet understand? Or is it a clue, a signpost pointing towards some fundamental truth about existence? Some physicists argue that symmetry is reality's blueprint, its most sacred law. Others suggest it is simply the language we impose, the projection of a pattern-seeking mind. But either way, its presence is undeniable, etched into everything from the spiral of galaxies to the double helix of DNA. To live with awareness of symmetry is to see the world differently. Suddenly, the flight of birds across the evening sky becomes a geometry of motion. The veins in your hand mirror the branching of trees. The pulse of your heartbeat resonates with the rhythm of the ocean. You realize you are not merely living within the universe. You are participating in its harmony, carrying within you the same laws that shape the stars. In this recognition lies a quiet awe. Reality is not random, not disconnected, not meaningless. It is a vast living pattern, and you are both its witness and its expression. The hidden symmetries do not only exist out there, they exist in you, as you. Fractals, infinite worlds within worlds. Imagine walking into a forest at dusk. The last rays of light trickle down through the branches, and you notice how each branch resembles the whole tree, splitting and reaching outward in miniature echoes of the trunk. Look closer. Each twig repeats the same gesture, splitting, dividing, spiraling outward. The same pattern, endlessly shrinking, endlessly repeating. This is not coincidence. It is fractal geometry, the secret of the infinite. Fractals are shapes that repeat themselves at every scale. No matter how far you zoom in or how far you pull back, the same rhythm emerges again and again. They are infinite mirrors, self-contained worlds that hide within themselves new worlds, without end. The most famous example is the Mandelbrot set, a simple equation that, when visualized, blooms into a cosmos of intricate swirls, spirals, and flames. Zoom in and you discover more spirals. Zoom further and more appear, each one echoing the last, yet always slightly different, always alive. What makes fractals truly remarkable is that they are not just mathematical curiosities, they are the architecture of reality. Coastlines ripple in fractal patterns, jagged and recursive. Mountains rise with peaks within peaks, valleys within valleys. Clouds billow in fractal layers, from vast thunderheads to tiny wisps. Rivers branch like veins, veins branch like trees, lightning forks like neurons. Everywhere you look, from the vast to the microscopic, nature is fractal. This is not merely aesthetic, it is functional. Fractals allow nature to build complexity from simplicity. The branching of lungs is fractal, so air can reach every cell. The network of blood vessels is fractal, so oxygen travels efficiently. Even your brain is fractal, neurons branching in recursive cascades. wiring your consciousness with infinite intricacy. What we call life may be, in part, the unfolding of fractal mathematics into biological form. But fractals go beyond biology. They stretch into the cosmos itself. Galaxies cluster in filaments and webs that resemble fractal structures, great tendrils of matter stretching across the universe like frozen lightning. The cosmic web, as astronomers call it, looks eerily like neurons in the brain, a fractal echo spanning light years. The smallest and the largest mirror each other, as though the universe itself is a self-repeating design. To meditate on fractals is to meditate on infinity. Stand on the edge of the Mandelbrot set, and you are staring into a world that never ends. The deeper you fall, the more detail appears, forever. Infinity is not something far away, locked in abstract numbers. It is here, hidden in the veins of a leaf, in the cracks of a rock, in the whorls of your fingerprint. Fractals prove that the infinite is already inside the finite, that eternity is embedded in the ordinary. And perhaps this is why humans are so mesmerized by fractals. We paint them, generate them, meditate on them. They resonate with something deep in our consciousness, perhaps because the brain itself is fractal and recognizes its own reflection. Some scientists even argue that the rhythms of thought, the self-similarity of ideas branching and repeating, may be a fractal phenomenon. In other words, the way you think, the way you dream, might itself be patterned by infinity. Consider how this truth transforms perspective. You are not just a person walking through a forest. You are a fractal echo of that forest. Your veins branch like its rivers. Your lungs branch like its trees. Your neurons fire like its lightning. The forest is in you, and you are in the forest, endlessly reflecting one another. Reality, seen this way, is not divided but recursive. The same song repeats in countless voices, at countless scales. And yet, there is a paradox. Fractals are precise, but never identical. Each repetition is slightly different, slightly new. The tree never makes two branches the same. The cloud never forms two shapes alike. Fractals remind us that repetition does not mean sameness. Infinity is not static. It is endlessly creative. The repetition births variation, and the variation births beauty. To truly feel this, try to imagine zooming into a fractal without end. With every layer you pass, you find detail you never expected, complexity you could never predict. This is what life itself is like. No matter how deeply you dive into it, more meaning appears. The infinite is not far away. It is now, here, unfolding in the cracks of stone, in the branching of thought, in the endless weaving of being. So when you next look at the world, see it with fractal eyes. See the coastlines not as jagged chaos, but as infinite symmetries. See the lightning not as random fury, but as a self-similar echo of rivers and neurons. See yourself not as isolated, but as part of this recursive song, one branch in the infinite branching tree of reality. For in the end, fractals whisper the greatest secret of all. Infinity is not elsewhere. It is already here, repeating itself, forever, within and without. The universe has always lived in a delicate balance between chaos and order, between the unpredictable storm and the calm symmetry that follows it. To stand at this threshold is to feel the pulse of reality itself. A wild, beating heart that knows no stillness, no complete control. It is the dance between disorder and structure, a waltz that gives rise to galaxies, weather systems, and even the beating of your own heart. At first glance, chaos appears frightening, unruly, random, without pattern. But if you lean closer, if you look deeply, you will discover that chaos has its own secret order. Out of turbulence, patterns emerge. Out of randomness, rhythm. This is the essence of chaos theory, the study of systems so sensitive, so finely tuned, that the smallest change can ripple outward to create vast and unexpected effects. A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and weeks later, a storm breaks in Texas. This is no metaphor. It is the strange reality of non-linear systems. Weather is the classic example. Predicting it perfectly is impossible, not because the rules are unknown, but because the rules magnify small differences into great consequences. A tiny fluctuation in air pressure here, a subtle shift in temperature there, and suddenly the path of a storm changes. Chaos in this sense is not the absence of laws. It is the amplification of small details into vast outcomes. It is order stretched into wildness. But chaos is not only out there in the skies or the storms, it is within you. Your heartbeat, for example, is not perfectly regular. It fluctuates, skipping and surging in ways that look chaotic when plotted on a graph. Yet these fluctuations are signs of health, of adaptability. Too much rigid order in a heartbeat means danger. It signals a system unable to adapt. Too much chaos means collapse. Life thrives in the balance, the edge between chaos and order. The same is true of your thoughts. The mind is not a tidy machine. It wanders, leaps, digresses. Ideas spark unpredictably, and from that chaos, creativity is born. A rigid mind cannot create. A chaotic mind cannot sustain. But a mind that dances between the two finds new worlds. The spark of art, of poetry, of invention arises when the mind allows chaos and order to intertwine. This dance plays out in the cosmos as well. Stars are born in the chaos of collapsing clouds of gas and dust, gravity pulling them inward while turbulence swirls them outward. Galaxies form in the tug-of-war between order and disorder, spiraling arms stretching out while chaotic collisions shape their cores. Even the universe itself, in its earliest moments, was a storm of fluctuations. Tiny quantum jitters that inflated into galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually, us. Without chaos, there is no creation. Without order, there is no survival. Together, they birth existence. Here lies one of the greatest paradoxes. Chaos is not the enemy of order, but its partner. They are not opposites, but companions, weaving together a greater whole. Think of fire. It is wild, unpredictable, destructive, yet it also warms, transforms, and sustains. Think of water, chaotic in the flood, orderly in the tide, always balancing between two states. The universe itself seems to prefer this edge, the fine line where structure emerges from turbulence. Mathematicians have found that within chaos lie hidden attractors, patterns that systems fall into despite their unpredictability. These are like invisible shapes guiding the storm, unseen skeletons holding the whirlwind. They show us that even in chaos there is guidance. Even in disorder, there is structure. Life does not need perfect order to survive. It thrives in this strange, shifting in-between. Perhaps this is why humans are so drawn to stories of chaos and order. The myth of creation from formless void. The battle between cosmos and chaos. On some level, we recognize this dance as our own condition. Too much rigidity and life withers. Too much chaos and it dissolves. To live fully is to allow both, to surrender to unpredictability while also building patterns of meaning. And maybe this is the deeper truth. Chaos and order are not external forces. They are states within us. Our emotions shift between turbulence and calm. Our thoughts between clarity and confusion. Our lives between stability and change. When we resist chaos, we resist growth. When we cling to order, we lose vitality. But when we allow both, when we let the wildness of uncertainty fuel the structure of our choices, we step into the same rhythm that guides the stars. So the next time you watch a storm roll in, or hear the irregular thud of your heartbeat, or find yourself lost in unexpected thoughts, remember, this is the dance. The same dance that swirls galaxies into form. The same dance that carved rivers and mountains. The same dance that carries you forward. Chaos and order are not enemies, not strangers. They are partners, and you are the stage where they meet. The butterfly effect. Small causes, vast consequences. Imagine a single butterfly taking flight in a quiet meadow. Its wings tremble against the air, delicate, almost weightless. At first, it seems impossible to believe that something so fragile could matter beyond the flower it leaves behind. Yet this flutter, this tiny displacement of air might, through a cascade of amplifications, alter the path of a storm weeks later. This is the essence of the butterfly effect, how the smallest of actions can spiral outward into immense, unforeseen consequences. The butterfly effect was first described by meteorologist Edward Lorenz in the 1960s. He discovered, while running weather simulations, that a tiny rounding error in his data so small as to seem irrelevant, led to drastically different outcomes in his models. The atmosphere, he realized, is so sensitive to initial conditions that no prediction could ever be perfect. A fraction of a degree, a nearly invisible fluctuation, can steer the course of a hurricane, shifting its path across oceans. But this principle is not confined to weather. It resonates through every layer of reality, reminding us that the smallest seeds often bloom into forests of consequence. Consider the neurons in your brain. A single electrical spark, one synaptic firing among billions, might give rise to an idea, a word, an action, and that action could change the trajectory of your life. Think of the conversations you've had, the chance encounters that led to new friendships, opportunities, even entire destinies. One glance, one word, one decision can ripple outward, reshaping everything. History itself is riddled with butterfly wings. A soldier hesitates for a moment in battle, and an empire falls. A mathematician writes down a forgotten formula, and centuries later, it sparks revolutions in science. A child survives an illness by chance, and their descendants go on to alter the course of humanity. The world we live in today is a vast tapestry woven from countless tiny threads that began with small, unnoticed beginnings. Even nature thrives on this principle. The fall of a single tree in the forest alters sunlight patterns, allowing new plants to grow, feeding new animals, shifting the balance of the ecosystem. One mutation in a strand of DNA, a microscopic error in replication, can change the course of evolution, giving rise to new species or ending entire lineages. Life itself is a cascade of butterfly effects, each moment feeding into the next, each detail mattering more than we can ever know. And yet, the butterfly effect is not only about sensitivity, it is about responsibility. It reminds us that our actions, no matter how small, have weight. A kind word might echo in someone's heart for years. A careless action might trigger ripples we cannot control. To live is to participate in this web of causation, to know that even the slightest choices are not isolated, but part of a larger unfolding. But there is also beauty in this truth. It means that you, here and now, matter in ways you cannot imagine. You are not insignificant in the vastness of time and space. You are a butterfly, your wings trembling in the air, shaping currents that stretch far beyond your vision. The things you do today may someday echo in the laughter of strangers, in the survival of forests, in the unfolding of futures you will never see. Chaos theory teaches us humility. The universe cannot be fully predicted or controlled because the smallest detail escapes us. But it also teaches us wonder. The smallest detail is powerful beyond measure. Every breath you take, every step you make, is part of this great web, tugging threads you cannot see, weaving destinies you cannot predict. So the next time you dismiss something as too small to matter, remember the butterfly. Remember that storms are born from whispers, and galaxies from fluctuations, and love from single glances. Reality is not built from great moments alone. It is built from countless small ones, each carrying the potential to shift the world. And perhaps, in the quiet moments, when you wonder if you've left any mark at all, you can remind yourself, your wings are already in motion. You are already shaping currents you may never know. Strange attractors, the invisible shapes of chaos. There is a hidden architecture beneath the wildness of chaos, an unseen geometry that holds storms in its palm, that guides rivers of turbulence, that shapes the flight of birds and the firing of neurons. Mathematicians call these mysterious frameworks strange attractors, patterns that pull chaotic systems into their orbit, invisible skeletons around which disorder gathers its form. To understand an attractor, imagine a pendulum swinging. If untouched, it finds rest at its lowest point. That point of rest is its attractor, the destination the pendulum cannot escape. In more complex systems, the attractor may not be a single point but a loop or a cycle. But in chaos, the attractors grow stranger. They twist into fractal shapes, infinite in detail, never repeating yet always bounded. They look like smoke frozen mid-swirling or galaxies caught mid-bloom. They are the fingerprints of chaos, proof that even the unpredictable follows hidden order. One of the most famous is the Lorentz attractor, discovered when Edward Lorenz was studying weather systems. On a graph, it looks like a butterfly. Two looping wings of data spiraling endlessly, but never quite repeating. The Lorenz attractor revealed a truth both haunting and beautiful. Even in turbulence, even in systems too complex to predict, there is a structure that holds the chaos. The butterfly shape became an icon of chaos theory, a reminder that disorder itself has rhythm. But strange attractors are not only mathematical curiosities. They appear everywhere in nature. In the beating of your heart, the electrical impulses don't follow a simple rhythm, but gather around strange attractors, keeping your pulse alive and adaptable. In the firing of neurons, thought itself can be modeled as a chaotic system flowing around invisible attractors, guiding the patterns of memory and consciousness. Even the flocking of birds, the way starlings swirl in murmurations, seems to move around hidden attractors in space, shapes they never fully trace, but always circle. What makes them so extraordinary is their paradox. They are infinitely detailed, yet confined. They are unpredictable, yet patterned. They are chaos wearing the mask of order. Look close and you see self-similarity, fractals blooming within the attractor, endless echoes within echoes. These forms remind us that reality is not built from perfect lines, but from infinite spirals. And they whisper something profound about life. Our lives too seem chaotic. We stumble, we soar, we falter, we rise. Nothing is perfectly linear, no path perfectly smooth. Yet beneath it all, there seems to be an attractor, an unseen rhythm pulling us towards certain shapes of existence. The loves we return to, the habits we fall into, the callings we cannot resist. These may be our strange attractors, drawing us into patterns we don't fully understand but cannot escape. Scientists suspect that strange attractors may even explain how order emerges in systems that seem hopelessly unstable. They are the handrails of chaos, showing that unpredictability doesn't mean meaninglessness. Instead, it means complexity, richness, infinite variety bounded by an invisible form. A storm is not random, it is dancing around an attractor. A mind is not noise, it is thought, circling hidden shapes of consciousness. Think about it. If chaos itself bends around hidden structures, then perhaps life too is never as lost as it seems. Even in your most turbulent days, even when everything feels scattered, you may still be orbiting an unseen attractor, being pulled gently toward shapes you cannot yet perceive. You are not falling into disorder. You are tracing the strange, infinite lines of your own hidden geometry. And maybe, just maybe, those attractors are not fixed. Maybe they evolve with you, shifting as you grow, guiding you into new rhythms, new orbits, new wings of the butterfly. The path may never repeat, but the pull is always there, an unseen architecture shaping your chaos into meaning. So when you next watch smoke curl into the air, or a storm churn across the sky, or starlings fold and twist in the evening light, remember, you are seeing chaos obey its hidden skeleton. And in that realization, perhaps you'll recognize your own life, strange, infinite, unpredictable, yet always circling something deeper, always held by the invisible hand of order. The frozen oceans. Imagine you stand at the edge of a shoreline, where the sea usually greets the land with its eternal rhythm. The waves rise, crest and fall, always breathing, always reminding us of motion. But now, in this world where time has folded in on itself, the ocean is no longer alive. It is caught in the act of inhaling. The waves curl upward, 1,000 tons of water suspended like crystal sculptures, their spray frozen mid-air, glistening like shards of glass under a sun that itself no longer burns, but merely hangs. You take a step forward, and the sand beneath your feet crunches, not because it is wet or shifting, but because it has been paused at the exact moment of contact with the tide. Grains cling together in impossible formations, each droplet of seawater frozen as though a jeweler had carefully set it there. The ocean, that restless traveler of the world, has been turned into a colossal statue. The first feeling is awe, the kind of awe that seizes your breath and silences every thought. You are walking on the bones of a god who once moved but now sleeps. The second feeling, however, is dread. For without the tides, without the ceaseless exchange of push and pull, you realize how much of the earth itself has stopped. The moon may still orbit above, but the waters it calls to are deaf. unable to answer. The planet has forgotten its heartbeat. You reach out toward a wave that towers above you. In its frozen crest, you see trapped fish, silvery bodies locked mid-leap, mouths open, eyes wide, each one a perfect fossil of a moment that will never finish. Some hang half-emerged from the water, like souls almost freed but never quite released. Their bodies reflect you, warped by the lens of unmoving droplets, and you recognize the eerie truth. The ocean is no longer a place of life, but a mausoleum, and yet you can still walk across it. Carefully, you climb the frozen slope of a wave. It is smooth, cold, harder than ice but slicker, as though the laws of texture themselves have been rewritten. You find yourself standing where no human could ever stand, on the very lip of a wave, balanced between ocean and sky. Beneath your feet, you see the shadow of whales frozen deep below, their colossal forms hanging like dark monuments. Above you, seabirds hover in silence, wings outstretched but unmoving, guardians that no longer guard. There is something beautiful in this silence, something that makes you feel both infinite and unbearably small. For here you realize you are the only motion. You are the only current, the only ripple in this glassy universe. Each step you take is a disturbance, a reminder that while everything else is imprisoned, you still bear the weight and the burden for your freedom. But then a thought pierces your mind like a shard of cold glass. How long can the oceans remain this way? Without movement, without exchange, the balance of the world is already dying. The oxygen they once released, the currents that carried warmth, the hidden engines of climate and life, all are silent. The ocean is not simply frozen, it is suffocating. And though you may move, though you may breathe, you are breathing into a world that is slowly forgetting how. Perhaps this is the cruelest truth of time's imprisonment. Not that you are alone, but that everything around you is in the process of vanishing while you remain. The sea has become a mirror to that loneliness, endless, unmoving, and heavy. You place your hand against the smooth surface of the frozen wave and, for a brief moment, wish you too could stop, that you could rest as deeply as the ocean does, without responsibility, without motion, without fear. But then the wish passes, because you know what the ocean cannot. That stillness, though beautiful, is not life. And so you step down, leaving behind the cathedral of frozen tides, carrying with you the silent weight of what once moved. The forests held in stillness, you wander inland, away from the rigid ocean, and the landscape shifts into a kingdom of trees. At first, you expect the forest to feel alive. It always has, hasn't it? The rustle of leaves, the unseen chatter of birds, the hush of wind threading through branches. But here, in the hushed dominion of frozen time, the forest is no longer a song. It is a photograph stretched into infinity. The first tree you approach is mighty and ancient, its bark rough, its roots knotted into the earth. Yet not a single leaf trembles, not a shadow stirs. A spider's web glimmers between two branches, its threads jeweled with dewdrops that no longer fall. The spider itself is there too, a tiny architect caught in the middle of weaving, legs suspended in a gesture that will never complete. It is as if the forest has exhaled and then forgotten how to breathe back in. You step deeper into the woods, and the silence thickens. The air itself feels locked, as though even particles of dust have been told to stand still. A deer stands among the trees, its body tense in mid-step, one hoof lifted, eyes wide, frozen in a perfect sculpture of hesitation. Its fur is bristled where wind once touched it, but the wind itself is gone. You approach, close enough to touch, and find that even the warmth of its body is absent. It is no longer living, no longer dying. It is paused, caught between every state. You move past it, and the deeper you walk, the stranger the stillness becomes. A bird's wings are spread wide above you, feathers outstretched like the fan of an angel's robe. It hovers inches from the ground, trapped in that miraculous instant before landing. Nearby, a swarm of bees is frozen around a hive, each insect a tiny amber jewel suspended in air. The hum of their wings, once a chorus of labor and life, has been stripped from the world, and beneath it all, the trees themselves are silent sentinels. You run your hand across a leaf, and it does not bend, does not flutter. It is rigid, as if made of glass. yet it still holds the memory of greenness, the memory of growth. You wonder, if time were to awaken again, would the leaf resume its fall, the bee continue its flight, the deer finish its step, or have they been shattered in ways unseen, their stories forever broken by this endless pause? The forest, once a place of renewal, now feels like a museum of interrupted lives. Every trunk, every branch, every creature has become an exhibit, and you, the lone visitor, walk among them like a ghost. You realize that your footsteps are the only sound here, not the rustle of branches, not the song of morning birds, not the whisper of breeze, just you, carrying noise into a world that has forgotten it. A thought creeps in as you wander. Without time, the forest cannot grow. Seeds will never crack open, flowers will never bloom, and leaves will never fall. It will remain exactly this way, forever spring, forever mid-morning, forever incomplete. And isn't that the cruelest fate of all? Not to decay, not to end, but to remain unfinished. For the first time since time froze, you feel something ache deep in you. A longing for impermanence, for the gentle comfort that comes with endings. Because without endings, beginnings lose their meaning. The forest has shown you this truth. It is eternal now, but that eternity feels less like a gift and more like a cage. You step back out into the clearing, leaving behind the forest's stillness, but its silence follows you. It hums in your bones, a reminder that life is not found in the pause, but in the fragile, fleeting dance of change. The city's without motion. You leave the hushed cathedral of trees and walk toward the horizon where stone and steel rise. From afar, the city looks almost alive. Cars lined up on busy streets, lights glowing in windows, people scattered like ants on the sidewalks. For a fleeting second, you almost believe you've found movement again. But as you draw closer, you see it. The great metropolis has become another monument to silence. You step into an intersection where hundreds of cars are locked in place. A taxi is caught mid-turn, wheels tilted, driver's face frozen in irritation. A cyclist is leaned forward, suspended over the pedals, hair frozen mid-sweep behind them. The streetlight above flickers eternally on yellow, its pulse stuck in the instant before it changes. You realize that this city, normally a storm of noise, has been robbed of its heartbeat. On the sidewalks, you pass people in all their mid-moments. A man holds a coffee cup to his lips, the liquid hovering like a smooth mirror at the edge of spilling. A mother bends to tie her child's shoe, her fingers forever brushing the laces. Two strangers cross paths, eyes meeting in a spark that will never become recognition. It is as though the whole city has inhaled, and the exhale will never come. You slip inside a cafe, its bell above the door still angled from a swing that will never finish. Inside, dozens of people are caught in frozen gestures, a barista reaching for a cup, steam curling motionless from the espresso machine, a woman stirring sugar into coffee, the spoon dangling in liquid that does not ripple. You walk among them unseen, a phantom in a room of statues. It is haunting not because of what you hear, but because of what you do not. The city's hum, gone. The symphony of chatter, footsteps, engines, laughter, silenced. Out on the street again, you notice pigeons suspended in the air between skyscrapers, their wings like daggers of stone. A gust of wind had swept through here once, tugging at newspapers and coats, but now it hangs in place like an invisible sculpture. Dust motes sparkle in a shaft of sunlight, but they do not drift. They are shards of light nailed into the air. You climb the steps of a subway station. Below, the train is halfway through pulling into the platform, sparks frozen against the tunnel wall. Commuters stand shoulder to shoulder, their faces a canvas of emotions. Boredom, sleepiness, irritation, daydreams. Yet all of them are locked away from you, unreachable. You could whisper their names, shout into their ears, shake their shoulders, but they will not respond. Time itself has stolen their voices. As you wander deeper into the city, you feel something strange, a loneliness that is louder than silence. It isn't just the absence of sound, it's the absence of response. Every glance you try to meet, every moment you try to share, every life that could have crossed into yours is sealed away. You are not simply the only one moving through this frozen city. You are the only one aware, and awareness without connection is emptiness. You stand at the center of a plaza, skyscrapers towering around you, and it strikes you. The city is alive only because of movement, because of footsteps and echoes, the pulse of traffic, the laughter in alleys, the whispers of 1,000 simultaneous lives. Without time, without motion, without exchange, the city is no longer a city at all. It is a fossil of human ambition, a museum of interruption. And as you stand there, surrounded by a metropolis that cannot move, you wonder, if time never returns, what good is survival when you are the only one awake? The skies that would not drift. You step back from the motionless city and tilt your head toward the heavens. Normally, the sky is a stage in constant performance. Clouds wandering across the blue, planes carving white scars, the sun slipping ever forward toward its next horizon. But now, as you gaze upward, you realize the sky too has been captured by the same merciless stillness. A plane hangs above the skyline, tilted slightly as though banking. It should be soaring at hundreds of miles per hour, yet it hovers there like a child's toy pinned against the dome of the world. Through its windows, you imagine passengers mid-conversation, mid-sip, mid-thought. A flight attendant caught in mid-step, tray in hand. The engines are silent, the vapor trail unfinished, and you realize that the sky has been stripped of its breath. You walk until the skyscrapers fall away and the horizon opens. Above you, a flock of birds stretches across the air, wings outstretched in unison, a perfect frozen wave. Some are angled upward, some downward, but none of them move, their bodies locked into silhouettes that seem etched into the sky. You circle beneath them, and they do not shift, do not even blink. It is as though the very idea of flight has been erased. But what takes your breath most is the clouds. Vast formations hang motionless, curls of vapor as solid as stone. A storm has been paused mid-roar. Dark thunderclouds with their bellies swollen and heavy, flashes of lightning suspended within them like veins of molten glass. You stare at one of those lightning forks, a jagged spear of brilliance that should last less than a second. Yet here it is, eternal, frozen fire stretching across the heavens. The sun itself rests in place, a great burning coin that should be falling slowly toward the west. Its rays pierce through the paused clouds, scattering light that no longer shifts. Shadows on the ground are sharp, absolute, never stretching, never fading. You realize you are walking not beneath a living sky, but beneath a painting. Vibrant, dramatic, but incapable of change. Then, as your eyes adjust to the stillness, you notice something chilling. High above, the stars are visible, faint, but present, even though the sun still burns overhead. They too have been caught, dots of light no longer twinkling. In the stillness of time, even the farthest stars have lost their shimmer, their messages silenced. The universe itself seems to have been muted, stripped of its motion, stripped of its pulse, and you are the only one beneath this vast, arrested dome who can still breathe, still move, still wonder. For a moment, the beauty of it overwhelms you. The world has become a masterpiece of impossible sights. Lightning frozen, storms captured, flight suspended, sunlight unbending. Yet the longer you look, the more you feel it. This beauty is not alive. It cannot evolve, cannot surprise, cannot change. The skies, once a theater of infinite stories, have become a ceiling that will never open again. And as you stand beneath it, you feel smaller than ever, a single flicker of motion in a cosmos that has gone silent. Rivers that refuse to flow. After leaving the silent city and the unmoving heavens, you wander toward the sound you expect to hear, the voice of water. Rivers in the living world are storytellers. They twist and tumble, carrying whispers from mountain to sea, shaping valleys with their restless touch. But here, in the frozen realm of halted time, the rivers have lost their tongues. You stand at the edge of one and stare down into what should be a rushing current. Instead, the river is a solid pane of glass, every ripple arrested, every bubble held in suspension. A fish hovers mid-stroke beneath the surface, gills open, mouth parted as though drawing in the water that will never pass through. Its eye stares outward, unblinking, reflecting a sky that will never move again. You step onto the surface cautiously. To your surprise, it holds not ice, not stone, but something stranger, something unclassifiable. The river is liquid in shape, but not in nature, frozen not by cold, but by the absence of time itself. You kneel down, press your hand against it, and feel neither wetness nor chill, just hardness, like touching the surface of a dream that refuses to yield. You follow the river upstream, where it splits around stones. Droplets that once splashed upward are now pearls suspended in air, never to fall back. You reach toward one, touch it, and it shatters into nothing. Not water, not mist, just gone, as though time itself had withdrawn the permission for it to exist. A sobering reminder. Perhaps not everything is simply paused. Perhaps some things cannot survive without time's gentle push. Deeper into the wilderness, you find a waterfall. In the living world, it would roar, hurling itself endlessly downward in a hymn of gravity and flow. Now it is a vertical sculpture of liquid, strands of water twisting like glass threads, droplets hanging like crystal beads on invisible strings. Birds that once wheeled around it are captured mid-dive, wings locked, their grace preserved but emptied of meaning. You step closer. The spray that should cool your face hangs in the air, glittering in the light, each droplet a miniature lens refracting the frozen sun. You walk through it, your body brushing past diamonds of still water, and they do not cling to your skin. They do not even notice you, they simply remain where they are, awaiting a future that will never arrive. At the bottom of the falls, the pool is a turbulent sculpture. Waves captured mid-crash, foam arrested in delicate lace, bubbles rising halfway before stopping. It is a painting of energy without energy, a display of motion without motion. You realize, with a deep and almost painful awe, that water is beautiful precisely because it moves. Without flow, without the promise of change, it becomes alien, unnatural. You sit at the base of the waterfall, staring upward, and wonder what the rivers must think of this fate. Their purpose has always been to move, to carry, to shape, to erode, to renew. Now they are denied the only thing that defined them, and in that thought, you see a reflection of yourself. If time never resumes, what purpose would you serve? To walk alone among statues of rivers, forests, and skies? To be the last current in a world without flow? The rivers do not answer. They remain silent as they have since the moment time was taken. And you rise, step away, and carry their silence with you, heavier than any roar could have been. The crowds that could not cheer, you wander from the hush of rivers and waterfalls back towards civilization. From a distance, you see something unusual. Color, banners, lights, a stadium, vast and grand, its walls humming with the memory of motion. You approach, hoping that here, perhaps, you will find signs of life. But as you step inside, your heart stutters. The stadium is full. Tens of thousands of people sit in their seats, stand on their feet, arms raised, mouths open. But no sound, no movement greets you. A game was being played, yet the ball hangs in mid-air, suspended between a player's outstretched hands and the waiting net. The players themselves are frozen in positions of strain and power, sweat glistening on foreheads, jerseys stretched tight. But they do not fall, do not move, do not finish their play. The roar of the crowd is captured in silence, like a photograph of noise that can no longer be heard. You walk along the aisles, brushing shoulders with frozen fans. One man has popcorn suspended halfway to his mouth, kernels scattering in the air around him, each one preserved like a golden bead. A child leaps from their seat, both feet off the ground. But their joy is eternalized in stillness, face lit with an excitement that will never fade, never change. A woman has her hand lifted high, mid-wave, yet her fingers are like marble. She will never complete the gesture. You step onto the field, standing between giants caught in the height of their movements. A ball hovers inches from your face and you touch it. It is firm, real, yet it does not roll, does not fall. It is locked to the very air, as though gravity itself has been chained. And then you realize, this scene is not unique. Beyond the stadium, in city squares, in parades, in concerts, in festivals, every crowd, every gathering of people has been stopped mid-celebration. You imagine fireworks frozen in the sky, their sparks forever blooming but never fading. You imagine a singer on stage, microphone to lips, their song trapped in silence. The audience's applause captured as a sculpture of clapping hands. Entire carnivals paused mid-laughter, mid-dance, mid-song. You walk among them, and the silence becomes unbearable. It is not the emptiness of a forest, nor the stillness of a river. It is the silence of voices denied, of conversations cut short, of human connection torn away. Here, in the presence of so many, you feel more alone than ever. A chilling thought comes to you. You are not only the last witness of time, you are also the last audience. These players will never finish their game unless you imagine it. These singers will never finish their songs unless you hum them to yourself. The people will never cheer unless you hear their echoes in your own mind. You become the vessel that must carry what cannot be completed. And isn't that, in its own way, a kind of prison? You leave the stadium slowly, each step echoing in the silence that has swallowed tens of thousands of voices. As the gates close behind you, you realize the truth. It was never the buildings or the events that gave meaning. It was the people, the pulse of hearts beating together, without time, without motion, without sound. Even the greatest celebrations are nothing more than statues in an abandoned gallery. And you are the only one left to walk its empty halls. The wild kingdom impores you. Leave behind the echo of crowds locked mid-cheer and wander outward, past the edge of civilization into the untouched wilderness. At first glance, it looks almost like it always has. Open plains, mountains rolling in the distance, herds grazing. But then your eyes adjust to the stillness, and the truth unfolds. Nature itself has been halted, animals caught in the theater of survival, mid-breath, mid-motion. On the plains, a lion is frozen in a leap. Its muscles are stretched taut, claws extended toward a zebra that will never know its fate. The zebra's body is angled in desperate escape, hooves inches above the ground, dust particles hanging around its legs like shards of amber. Both predator and prey are sealed in a tragic duet. Neither victory nor escape possible now. You step closer and see the detail of the lion's mane. Strands caught mid-whip, jaws open to a silent roar. The zebra's eye glistens with fear, wide and shimmering, but it will never blink. Time has not just taken sound, it has taken mercy. It has stolen the resolution of moments that demand closure. The hunt is eternal, the chase never-ending. Further along, you find a migration of wildebeest locked mid-stampede. Hundreds of bodies are frozen in motion, their hooves inches above the earth, each one hanging as though the ground itself has rejected them. A cloud of dust rises over them, frozen into a vast brown canopy. You walk among them, weaving through a sea of giants that will never reach the river they once sought, never fulfill the ancient rhythm that once pulsed through their bloodlines. Above, birds are trapped mid-flight, great arcs of wings painted across the sky. A hawk hovers inches from striking a rabbit, talons extended like daggers of bronze. The rabbit itself is frozen mid-sprint, every hair on its body rigid, its ears bent back by a wind that no longer moves. You crouch near it, whispering into ears that will never twitch, and the futility of your voice cuts deeper than silence. In the ocean shallows, creatures are caught too. A pod of dolphins hangs mid-leap, their sleek bodies gleaming in sunlight that will never fade. A shark's jaws are parted around a shoal of fish, but the fish are suspended as well, scales glittering like confetti. Predator and prey, symphony and silence, all locked together, stripped of meaning. And then you see something stranger still. Insects frozen mid-flight, their wings a blur that will never complete. Ants in long columns across the dirt, carrying food that will never reach the nest. A spider mid-pounce, a butterfly mid-flutter, bees circling flowers that will never bloom again. The entire web of life is paused at once, each string plucked but never allowed to vibrate. You kneel by a frozen fawn, its body half hidden in tall grass, eyes wide in innocence. You touch its fur, soft, warm, lifelike, yet it does not shiver, does not flinch, does not know you. For the first time, a thought pierces you like a knife. Perhaps this stillness is worse than death. Death has finality, a closing of the story. But this is a book whose pages have been glued together, leaving every character mid-sentence, every scene unresolved. You stand slowly, realizing something profound. Life was never about being eternal. It was about moving forward, about change, about the fragile dance between predator and prey, between bloom and decay, between beginning and ending. And without time, even the wilderness, the most untamed and unyielding force, loses its meaning. The wild, once endless in its energy, has become a diorama, beautiful, haunting, dead in everything but appearance. And as you walk through it, the silence presses on your chest like a weight you cannot put down. The fragility of time is the most delicate illusion we live inside. You feel it brushing against your skin, measuring your days, dividing your life into beginnings and endings. Yet the more closely you chase it, the more it slips between your fingers, like fine grains of sand carried away by a restless tide. In the quantum world, time isn't a fixed ruler stretching from past to future. It bends, hesitates, lingers, and sometimes refuses to exist at all. Imagine a glass clock floating in a silent void. Every tick is a crack forming along its surface. Every tock a reminder that the structure we depend on is fragile. One misstep in physics, one ripple in gravity, and the clock shatters, revealing that what we thought was steady was only a story we told ourselves. Scientists once dreamed of a universe where time moved like an arrow, sharp and certain, pointing always toward tomorrow. But in truth, time behaves more like smoke. It curls, it loops, it vanishes in your hand, and sometimes it doubles back on itself. Relativity tells us time runs differently on mountaintops than in valleys. Black holes stretch seconds into eternities. In the lab, particles flicker in and out of existence as though they are not bound by hours or days at all. And then, there is us. We age, we measure birthdays, we mourn minutes wasted and savor seconds stolen. Yet what if every moment already exists? Past, present, future, stacked together like pages of a book you've only begun to read. If so, then your memories are not gone. They are simply stored on earlier pages, waiting, as real as the line you're reading now. The fragility of time is also the fragility of our identity. If time can bend, then who are we really? Are you the person you were yesterday, or the person you will be tomorrow? Or are you all of them at once? An echo scattered across dimensions, speaking in harmony with yourself. We live inside time, but perhaps time also lives inside us. Every heartbeat is its rhythm. Every breath is its measure. And maybe when we dream, when we lose our grip on the ticking seconds, we step outside the glass clock and touch the raw, timeless canvas underneath. A place where nothing shatters, because nothing needs to. Echoes of parallel. Selves, close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself walking through a hallway of mirrors. Not the kind that reflect you perfectly, but ones that distort, twist, and sometimes reveal a figure that looks just like you, only a fraction different. A version of you who chose another path, a self who whispered a different answer, who stayed when you left, who left when you stayed. Each reflection is not just an image, but a life, unfolding silently alongside yours. Quantum mechanics hints at this. Worlds where every possibility breathes somewhere. An infinite library where your parallel selves are scattered like books, each telling a story that could have been. One self lives in a city you never moved to. Another still holds the hand you once let go of. And yet another stares back at you now, wondering if you are the echo and they are the real. The strangest part is this. These parallel versions may not be entirely cut off. Sometimes you feel it, don't you? That tug in your chest when déjà vu grips you. That sudden, unexplainable longing for something you've never had, yet feels achingly familiar. Perhaps those are the echoes, the whispers of your parallel selves brushing against your own timeline, leaving traces like fingerprints on glass. Imagine standing at a crossroads in your life. One road leads to safety, the other to chaos. You chose safety, but somewhere, another you chose chaos, and their laughter or their regret hums softly at the edges of your mind. Every choice you make is a split, a fracture, a doorway into another existence. And so there are countless yous, millions, billions, each carrying the same fragile soul, but dressed in the clothes of different decisions. It raises a haunting question. If all of these parallel selves exist, then which one is truly you? Or are you all of them, an orchestra of selves, each note playing in a symphony you can't yet hear. We are left with only this certainty: our lives are not as solitary as they appear. Somewhere, just beyond the veil of perception, your parallel self may be watching, wondering the same thing you are. Perhaps even hoping that one day, in a quiet dream, your eyes will meet across the glass, the silent observer. There is a presence that lingers in the background of all our wondering, a watcher, quiet yet persistent, who seems to stand just beyond the edge of perception. Some traditions call it the higher self. Others name it consciousness itself, an eternal thread weaving through every possible life. Whatever you call it, it is there, steady, patient, timeless. When you feel as though someone is watching you in an empty room, perhaps it is not fear playing tricks on your mind. Perhaps it is that observer, an essence of you stretched across worlds, bearing witness to every version of your existence. It doesn't interfere, doesn't command. It only observes. It is the constant amidst infinite variation, the root that feeds every branch of possibility. Think of the countless lives you've never lived, roads you never walked, words you never spoke. Each exists in some corner of the cosmic fabric, flickering like stars you'll never see. Yet the silent observer is there, watching them all at once, like an eternal reader of a never-ending book. It knows every page, every choice, every consequence, and through that observer, maybe, just maybe, all yourselves are one. There's something both humbling and comforting in that thought. You are not lost in infinity. You are gathered. You are whole. Even when you feel broken in this timeline, even when you ache with regret or wonder what might have been, remember, some version of you is living that other life, and the observer within you, ageless, beyond time, already holds them all. And so, the question lingers: are you the character, or are you the observer who writes? Are you living, or are you watching yourself live? The truth may be that you are both, the dreamer and the dream, the watcher and the watched. And in that paradox, we find peace. The strange architecture of memory feels like a tidy library, a neat row of shelves, each book labeled and waiting for you to pull it down. But in truth, memory is nothing like that. It is liquid, fragile, shifting with every glance, rewriting itself whenever you call it forward. The story of your past is not carved in stone, it is sculpted from smoke. Every memory you recall, you rewrite. Each time you remember an event, your brain does not replay a recording, it recreates the experience from scratch. Like an artist repainting an old canvas, it draws from fragments, a smell here, a sound there, a face half remembered, and your own present emotions coloring the gaps. By recalling, you alter. By remembering, you distort. It means the memory of your happiest day, or your saddest night, is not pure. It's a story you've told yourself again and again, changing with each retelling. False memories are shockingly easy to plant. Your mind trusts itself, but it shouldn't. Psychologists have shown that simply by suggesting a memory, people can come to believe it happened. They'll swear they got lost in a mall as a child, or petted a giant rabbit at a fair, even though it never occurred. Their confidence in that false event can match or exceed their belief in true memories. The brain doesn't distinguish well between imagination and recollection. The line is blurry, shifting. You might carry memories that never belonged to you at all. Smell unlocks the oldest doors. If memory is a maze, smell is the secret key. Unlike sound or sight, which pass through many filters before becoming memory, smells take a direct route to the hippocampus, the brain's archive. That's why the faintest whiff of a long-forgotten perfume or a scent of burning firewood can pull you instantly into a childhood room, into a night from decades ago. The rest of the world fades. You are back there, not remembering it, but living it again. In that moment, memory becomes time travel. Your first memories may not be yours. Many of us claim to remember something from when we were 1 or 2 years old, but most of those memories are built from stories told by others. They are hand-me-down memories, borrowed and stitched into your sense of self. Scientists call it childhood amnesia, the inability to store true episodic memories before age 3. So when you say, "I remember my first steps," or "I remember my second birthday," you may not. You might just be holding on to someone else's words and mistaking them for your own lived truth. Memory is shared, not solitary. When you recall something with a friend or sibling, your stories will rarely match exactly. One detail that's vivid to you may be missing from them. One thing they're certain about might not exist at all in your version. Yet over time, your memories can merge. People unconsciously adopt one another's recollections, creating a shared history that may never have truly happened in the way either of you insist. Memory, then, is not just private. It is social, a living organism that adapts, merges, and grows between minds. And here is the strangest truth. Your memories shape your identity, yet they are unstable. If they shift, does your identity shift with them? Are you the sum of events that happened, or the sum of the stories you tell yourself? If memory can be rewritten, then who are you today compared to who you were yesterday? Maybe you are less a person built from solid history, and more a story written in water, constantly reshaped by tides, but still undeniably you. Dreams as memory's shadow. If memory is the script of your waking life, then dreams are its echoes, the blurred reflections of experiences stitched into strange new forms. When you close your eyes, your brain does not rest. It sifts, sorts, and recombines your days into something half real, half imagined. Dreams are not random, they are memory in disguise. Our brain is a nightly archivist. Every night during REM sleep, your brain reviews the chaos of your day. It takes the fleeting impressions, the song you heard faintly in a store, the stranger's face on the subway, the scent of rain on concrete, and files them away. But in the filing, it jumbles. That's why dreams feel like collages. Yesterday's lecture merges with a memory from 10 years ago, stitched together with pure invention. In truth, your brain is running maintenance, like a librarian rearranging shelves while the library is closed. Dreams strengthen the fragile threads. Studies show that when people dream after learning something new, they retain it better. A violinist practicing for hours finds their skills sharper if they sleep afterward. A student reviewing formulas recalls more if they dream soon after studying. In dreams, the brain takes fragile threads of memory and weaves them into stronger chords. Without this nocturnal weaving, the day would unravel and slip away. Nightmares are survival training. Why do we dream of being chased, falling, or failing? Scientists believe nightmares are ancient simulations. Your brain rehearsing threats so you'll be better prepared if they ever come. Falling dreams may train your reflexes to protect yourself. Being chased may prime your body's fight or flight. Though terrifying, nightmares are not punishments. They're lessons, written in the dark, designed to keep you alive. Some dreams feel more real than waking lucid dreams, where the dreamer becomes aware, blur the boundary between imagination and reality. In that state, you can sculpt entire worlds, meet lost loved ones, and even practice real skills that carry into waking life. To your brain, a lucid dream is as real as the waking world. The same regions fire, the same networks activate. You are not pretending inside a dream. You are living another reality, one your waking mind usually forgets by morning. Memories can hide in dreams. There are moments when a dream resurrects something you thought you had lost forever. A childhood toy, a face you hadn't recalled in years, a street from your old neighborhood. These details resurface not by choice, but by the brain's mysterious currents. Sometimes dreams are archaeologists, digging up buried memories with uncanny precision. The strangest part? You may not even recognize it as memory. You might think it's pure invention, when in fact your brain has returned to a truth long forgotten. So what are dreams, truly? Are they just memory's shadow, or are they memory's rehearsal? Are they fragments of your life rearranged into cryptic riddles, or messages from the deeper observer within you? Maybe dreams are the mind reminding you that reality is not fixed, that the stories you live are not the only stories you can live. Dreams whisper, you are more than your waking life. You are infinite combinations, infinite selves. And when you wake, you bring back only scraps. But even those scraps remind you that life itself may be just another dream, waiting to be remembered when you awaken somewhere beyond. The fragile truth of memory feels sacred, our most trusted link to truth. Yet the deeper we look, the more fragile it appears. What you remember is not a mirror, but a mosaic. one built from shards of truth, patched with fragments of imagination, and glued together by the need for meaning. Memory comforts, deceives, and bends reality to fit the story you tell yourself. Eyewitness testimony is one of the least reliable forms of evidence. In courts of law, eyewitness memory has convicted countless people, yet studies reveal it is astonishingly unreliable. When shown a lineup, witnesses often pick the wrong face. Even their confidence in the memory grows over time, despite being incorrect. Stress, lighting, emotion, all warp recall. Entire lives have been altered by the frailty of human memory, and yet society still treats it as gospel. Group memory creates collective myths. When events are remembered by many, their stories merge into a collective version. History books, cultural stories, family tales, all are shaped by shared memory. But in the blending, distortion creeps in. Small details are dropped, others exaggerated, until the story transforms into something more myth than truth. The events of history are not only written by victors, they are rewritten by memory itself, passed like whispers through generations. The Mandela effect is memory on a global scale, perhaps the most mind-bending sign of memories. Fragility is the Mandela effect when large groups of people recall something that never happened. Millions swear Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s. Others vividly remember the Berenstain Bears spelled as Berenstein, or Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I'm your father," when the actual line is "No, I am your father." These are not small slips. They are deeply confident recollections of a past that never existed. Could this be proof of parallel timelines, or simply the quirks of collective memory filling in gaps with the most logical patterns? Emotions are the sculptors of memory. You remember not the event itself, but how it felt. A birthday party may blur with time, but the joy of laughter or the sting of being ignored stays sharp. The emotion anchors the memory, shaping what survives and what fades. This means two people at the same event will recall entirely different truths, depending on how they felt in that moment. The mind remembers feelings first, facts second. Memory is edited to protect you. There are wounds too deep, pains too sharp, and traumas too unbearable for your mind to hold intact. So it edits, it blurs the edges, hides details, or in some cases, locks entire moments in darkness. Dissociation, repression, and selective forgetting are not weaknesses but survival tools. Your brain protects your fragile sense of self by altering the past, sparing you from reliving certain truths. But here is the paradox. If memory is fragile, distorted, even protective, then how much of your identity is true? If your past is a shifting story, who are you really? The you who remembers or the you who lived it? Some say memory is like a house. Each time you enter, you rearrange the furniture a little. Over years, the house no longer looks like the one you built, yet you still call it home. The question is, are you living in the house of your past, or a dream you've built from its fragments? Either way, the truth is not fixed. It is fragile, and maybe that's the point. Maybe identity is meant to evolve, not to stay tethered to an unchangeable past. The body remembers. What the mind forgets. We often imagine memory as something stored only in the brain, like files locked in the cabinet of the mind. But the truth is far stranger. Memory is not confined to thought. It seeps into the body, woven into muscles, nerves, even the very rhythm of your heartbeat. Long after the conscious mind lets go, the body continues to remember. Muscle memory is not stored in muscles when you ride a bike after years, or play a piano piece you haven't touched in decades. It feels as though your muscles remember. But in reality, muscle memory lives in the brain, deep within the motor cortex and cerebellum. Repetition carves grooves into your neural circuits, strengthening connections until movement becomes effortless. Even when you forget the steps consciously, the pattern is etched so deeply that your body moves without thought. Your hands recall a dance your mind has lost. Trauma lives in the body. Not all memory is conscious. Some forms lodge themselves into the body's tissues, resurfacing as tension, illness, or unexplained pain. A survivor of trauma may feel their heart race when hearing a sound that resembles the past, even if they cannot place why. Their body flinches before the mind realizes the trigger. This is why healing is not only mental, it is physical. To release old pain, the body must be taught safety again. The body holds the story until the mind is ready to read it. Your heart has neurons. Too strangely, the heart is not just a pump. It has about 40,000 neurons, a tiny nervous system of its own. Scientists call it the heart brain. It can sense, learn, and even remember in ways still not fully understood. When people undergo heart transplants, there are cases of recipients acquiring strange new tastes, habits, or emotions, memories perhaps, borrowed from another life. If true, it suggests memory is not only mental, it is cellular, scattered throughout the body like seeds. Phantom limbs remember what is gone. Amputees often report sensations in limbs that no longer exist, an itch on a missing hand, pain in an absent foot. This is the ghost of memory, the body recalling itself. The brain map of the body still contains that limb, and until the map rewires, the phantom remains. Memory can cling so powerfully that even absence cannot erase it. The stomach holds an archive of emotion. Your gut, often called the second brain, has 500 million neurons. It responds to stress, joy, fear, and love before your mind even registers the emotion. That flutter when you're nervous, that sinking feeling of dread, that inexplicable intuition. They are memories coded into the gut. Ancient instincts whispering to you, warning or guiding, long before thought catches up. So, the body remembers in ways the mind does not. It carries echoes of every touch, every fall, every scar. It holds onto loss and joy alike. The body is the archive beneath the archive, a deeper form of memory that never forgets. But what does this mean for identity? If your memories live in your heart, your gut, your hands, then perhaps you are not just your thoughts. You are every cell that remembers what the mind cannot. Your past is written not only in your stories, but in your very flesh. And maybe, when you feel emotions rise without cause, when your body shivers or aches with no explanation, it is not random. It is memory whispering, not in words, but in sensation. A reminder that you are more than mind. You are memory incarnate. We've wandered through memory tonight, through its illusions, its shadows, its body-bound echoes. We've seen how it reshapes itself, how it hides, how it whispers through dreams and scars. If there's one truth to hold close, it's this. Your past is not fixed. Your story is not rigid. You are more than what you remember. You are also what you forget, what you imagine, and what you are still becoming. So, as you drift into the quiet after this video, ask yourself, what memory has shaped you most? And do you think it is the memory itself, or the feeling it left behind, that defines who you are today? Share that with me in the comments. I'd love to read your stories, your truths, your echoes. If this journey through the mind gave you something to think about, I invite you to subscribe so we can continue to wander together through questions of time, dreams, consciousness, and the mysteries that hold us all. Your presence here is never just a number. It's a connection, a shared reflection in the dark. And now, let the weight of words fade. Let your breath slow. Let memory release its grip. You are safe. You are whole. You are enough. This was MindPeace. Until next time, rest easy, dream deep, and never stop wondering.